Hi guys, this is Aaron with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns. If you've ever wanted a 45 but you don't really like 1911s, I might have a good option for you. Today we have the Glock 21 Gen 4 45 ACP. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, by the way, but I don't care. I embrace it. I've had 4 1911s now, and I shot a couple others. And I was really determined to get one that really kicked ass. So I got this ATI, which may have been a mistake. And I spent like another $400 putting parts onto it. So I'm into this gun like $800. And I have to say that this Glock outperforms it in basically every regard. It's lighter, it holds more rounds, and it's more accurate. Now, before I get into the review, I want to make one thing clear. I have no relationship with Glock. They did not send me this gun. I purchased this at Bullseye Shooting Supplies in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I will give you a link in the description below. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. This has a 4.61 inch barrel. It appears to be standard rifling, unlike previous generations Glock that have the polygonal rifling. The barrel is crowned, so slightly, but it is there. It has a full-length dowel rod in double captive recoil spring assembly. It has a nitride finish on the slide. It has traditional Glock sights, which is to say it has a white dot in the front, and then it has a white U-notch in the rear. And I actually like the sights quite a bit. This is the first Glock I've ever bought. It's the first Glock I've ever shot, and that's hard to believe, but that's the way it is. And I really like the sight picture. It comes up, it's clear, it's crisp, it's easy to get. Hold it at 6 o'clock and you'll hit whatever you're aiming at. Slide serrations. The slide serrations are not like this 1911, as you can see. And I actually really prefer the slide serrations on the 1911. I like how they're fine, and there's a lot of them. And it really gives good traction on my hand. But on the Glocks, they are wider, but they're also deeper cut. And so I get very good traction on the slide. When I need to rack it or something like that, I get very, very good traction on it. Very happy with the slide serrations. The slide release, on the other hand, is the one point that I don't like on this gun. It is small, it is smooth, it does not come away from the frame enough, and so there were a couple times where I went to release the slide, and I actually just swiped it with my thumb a couple times, and it didn't release, so I just ended up slingshotting it, and that was just kind of the way I went forward. I would replace that with one of Glock's proprietary ones. They have a couple of different versions of this that are larger, or Vickers Tactical makes a nice one, and I'll probably just replace it with that, and I would recommend that you do the same thing. The trigger guard is squared off. It has some horizontal serrations on it, so if you like to wrap your trigger finger around the trigger guard when you're shooting, you're going to like that. If not, don't worry about it. The trigger guard is fairly large. You can easily, as you can see, get a gloved finger in here if you need to. It is undercut, so you can get a pretty high grip on this thing, which is good. Speaking of the trigger guard, let's move on to the trigger. It has the blade safety. It's a little sharp, actually, because of how thin it is, but I think that'll round off and it'll get better as time goes on. The trigger pull is a 6.3 pound trigger according to Glock, and I believe it. The trigger reminds me of an XD. So you got like 3 millimeters of take up, then you hit like a spongy wall, and then you have a pretty good break. It is a pretty clean break, and you know if you fired and you haven't misfired, you're going to know all about it because you can hear that thing. Same thing with the reset. The reset is fairly short, not the shortest in the world, but still pretty good. The reset is crisp, and it is very audible. Even at the indoor range with earmuffs on and stuff, I heard the trigger reset and felt it reset. So it is a very consistent trigger. It's pretty good overall. Not the best in the world, but pretty damn consistent, and I actually kind of like it. The magazine release is large, much larger than it was on the Generation 3, and I really do like it quite a bit. If you have small hands like I do, it can be a real pain in the ass to hit a mag release. I still have to break my grip very slightly to actually use the magazine release, but if you have larger hands than I do, that is to say like medium large or large hands, you're not going to have to do that. You'll be able to drop the magazine, no problem. The grip has these finger grooves on it. This is a point of contention among Glock owners. Some people love them, some people hate them. I actually didn't really notice them when I was shooting at all, and even when I'm holding the gun, I don't really notice them, so I guess I can take it or leave it. It has this kind of squared texturing all the way around, including on the back strap, and it works very well. It's not too rough. Like, I felt that the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 had a really rough grip, and it wasn't very nice. But this is just right. I get a good grip on it. It works fine. The back straps, it comes with a couple of interchangeable back straps, larger ones that you can slide on if you need to, if you have like big old bear paws. But if you're a normal human being like I am, you're never going to use those. Leave them in the case, toss the case in the closet. You'll never need them. The magazine well is not beveled. It's beveled a little bit in the front, but not the rest of the way around, and you're not going to need it because these mags insert, no problem. Eject, no problem. I didn't have an issue with that. The magazines, what can I say? The Glock mags, everybody knows that Glock mags just work. They're tough, they're light, and they work really well. No issues there. I spent $650 on this gun, or thereabouts, like $641, $642 with taxes. It was a little pricey for a Glock, but not as pricey as the Gen 5s. Those are hitting like the $700 mark or more, and I think that's a little bit too much. But all in all, it's a pretty damn good gun for the money. You could get another polymer frame striker fired gun like a Canik TP9 for like $350, and it would probably do the same thing. So if you're a little more budget minded, this might not be the option for you. But overall, I can see why law enforcement uses these guns all the time, and I still like it more than the 1911. Durability and reliability, no issues there. They're Glocks, they're durable, they're reliable. If you get a Glock, you're gonna probably more than likely you won't have any problems with it. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Let's just move on to some targets. We'll talk about accuracy and a couple other things, and that'll be about it for this video. So let me get the targets and let's keep moving. Okay, so we have some targets here from the Glock 21 Gen 4, and I believe these are in order here. So we'll start with this one. This is me, 7 yards, bullseye, 230 grain, full metal jacket. So you can see here that this was my first group, right there. So that's like a 2-inch group. This one was my second group. I was still kind of working on the trigger and mastering it a little bit, but my third round was like just past the paper right there. Third group, right there. Last group on that one. So that wasn't half bad. Nora shot it right after me. I shot one magazine, and these are, by the way, the magazines are kind of a pain to load. A lot of people say like, oh, you know, I have a hard time loading in that last round on the magazine, and I've never run into that issue. Once with the Glock 21, I did. You're probably gonna have to load it to like 12 rounds. And then don't worry about the 13th, wait until like later on when the magazine's broken in to try that. Nora, same distance, same load, same gun. There's her first group right there, like a 2-inch group. Again, a little mastery of the trigger is needed. But then look at her third group and her fourth group. And I think that's kind of indicative of what this gun is really capable of. And it does seem to be consistent with the couple different ammunitions that I tried. It seemed to be consistent. Didn't seem to matter whether it was match or not. See, this is Federal aluminum, 230 grain, same distance, standing. So 2 rounds there. The third one was just over the paper here. Second group, again, still working on that trigger a little bit. Third group, 2 through the same hole and then 1 little flyer there. And then just 3 in a row, a little bit of stringing. But all in all, a pretty dang accurate gun, pretty consistent gun, and it's in part due to that very consistent trigger. Is it a really great trigger? No, Is it an adequate trigger? Yes. Is it a very consistent trigger? Yes, it is. And that really does lead to some good accuracy. Let's see, this is, yep, Nora, same wood, ferroaluminum, 230 grain. 3 rounds there, 3 rounds there, 3 rounds there, and 3 more right there. So you're gonna look at like 1.5 inch, 2-inch groups pretty consistently with this gun. So it is accurate, it is consistent, it I'm sure is reliable and durable. It's right at the edge of the value for these polymer framed guns as far as price goes. It does have a couple of quirks to it, particularly that slider release is just not great, and those back straps, but again, you're not going to use them anyways, so don't even worry about it. Just throw them in a case and put the case in the closet. But all in all, a pretty good gun, a decent value, not a great value, but a decent value. And I can see why a lot of law enforcement agencies now use the Glock. This has been Aaron with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns.